Hey, what's going on, Weavers? Tim here again, and do you guys like making monkey's fists? Well, based on that view count, you definitely do. And if you're a serial monkey's fist maker, you most likely have a monkey's fist jig or are looking to get one. So in this episode, we will be looking at 3 different styles of monkey's fist jigs to help you decide which one might be best for you. So we have 3 different styles of monkey's fist jig, and I'll say they all do their job just differently. We're going to be starting off with the simplest one here. This one is from Jig Pro Shop, and it's the Maxi jig. So we've got 2 versions here, and they just differ in color. For this jig, you've got this round shaped disc base with these series of threaded holes drilled in them. And you've got 4 metal rods with threaded ends as well. How this jig works is that you simply screw in the rods into the holes, and depending on the size of your core, you will adjust the placement of the rods accordingly. So this vertical style of jig works fine. I will go out and say right off the bat that you are a little limited because of the position of the rods, which are predetermined, so you can't do any sizing in between. What this means is that although the core is held in place by the rods, it does slide easily up and down the core and can't really be held floating in the middle depending on the size. This is a minor issue for me, not a complete deal breaker, but something to keep in mind. Once you do get a few passes going though, the paracord can possibly hold up the core if it's not too heavy. It also depends, as you can see by this smaller ball bearing, it does float in the middle, but with the larger 8 ball it doesn't. I will say the great thing about this design is that it's really compact and easy to store away when not in use, as it's just the base and rods. So overall a decent jig, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite. Next up we have another jig from Jig Pro Shop, and this is the Uni monkey's fist jig, which has this X-shaped stamped metal piece with these cutouts on the center of each side. And what you do with this jig is that you attach your guide rods via these brass knurled fasteners and hex nuts into each channel, which then allows you to have adjustable sizing. This particular model also comes with this wooden base that very simply comes together and allows you to hold up the jig and the guide rods. This one is definitely a step up as you can adjust your sizing, and it also holds the entire thing up so that you can have both hands free to work on the monkey's fist. You've even got this nice sizing guide on the bottom here that's been laser etched into the wood to help you determine how much cord you need for different sized monkey's fists. This one works just fine of course, and is better than the Maxi jig. However, I do find the wooden base is a bit light, so you might find it moving around a bit when you work on it. So you can either clamp it down to the table you're using or put it on top of some sort of anti-slip mat. Now at the time of reviewing this, it appears that Jig Pro Shop doesn't sell this jig with the wooden base anymore. At least the pictures don't seem to include the wooden base. They simply sell the metal piece only, which would still work fine as a jig, but you don't have the convenience of the jig being held up. I'm not sure why they chose not to include the base anymore, but that does seem to be the case at this moment in time unless I'm mistaken. Function wise it works great, and I actually do like how I can rotate the monkey's fist I'm working on due to the wooden base. It's also great that it comes apart very easily in case you want to store it more compactly. Now the jig without the wooden base will still work, however I will say that it's definitely not as easy to use without something holding it down. So that's definitely something to consider. If you do have some scrap wood lying around and some basic tools, you can always make your own wooden base as it's quite simple. So overall another decent option, but without the wooden base I would say it's not as good as the previous jig, as there's nothing to hold it steady as you work on it. And finally we have the monkey's fist jig by Speedy Jig. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you will have definitely seen this jig before. So what we've got here is a monkey's fist jig with a sturdy metal base with 2 options for how you want to tie your monkey's fist. As you can see, there are 2 sets of the X cutout slots for the metal guide rods, which means you can tie your monkey's fist at an angle or vertically, which is great. Also the guide rods attach with these plastic nuts similar to the previous jig. The base also has these rubber feet stuck to the bottom, which provide some nice non-slip grip as you're working on the monkey's fist. The Speedy Jig is very well made, everything is nicely machined and finished. What I like about this jig is its versatility, as we've got 2 different ways you can tie your monkey's fist, in addition to the fully adjustable sizing. The metal base is also a plus, as the weight keeps the entire jig in place alongside the rubber feet. You have a really sturdy platform. I've got to say, and it's probably no surprise, I like this jig the most and I find it the most user-friendly and versatile. I personally like tying my monkey's fist on an angle, and the adjustable guide rods mean I can suspend the core in the middle, which I find personally makes it easier to work on. Also, the one biggest difference and what I like the most about this jig are the extra long guide rods. What the longer rods mean is that what you're working on is held further away from the base of the jig, which I find just gives me more space and freedom to work with. The only very minor gripe I have about this jig is simply the color, which is this sort of railroad sign yellow. Of course, this doesn't affect the function of the jig, but as a video and content creator, it would have been nice to have one or two different color options that are a bit more subtle, like black, gray, or even an OD green. Not a deal breaker because of that, of course. In terms of pricing, all three of these jigs are similarly priced between $22 to $24 US, which is nice, making them quite affordable. After all these things considered, I'm going to have to go with the Speedy Jig due to its versatility, overall heft, and sturdiness. The other two work fine just as well, but given a choice, I will always go for the Speedy Jig. At the end of the day, a monkey's fist jig isn't 100% necessary to tie a monkey's fist, but for the larger ones, it definitely does make things much easier. If you're making a lot of them for a business or just for your own hobby, I'd suggest picking one up. So if you're interested in getting one of these, I'll have links in the description box down below for where to get them. If you have any experience with any of these jigs, please feel free to comment down below and let me know what you think of them. I hope you've all found this video useful and informative, and I appreciate you spending your time with me. That being said, a huge thank you to all my Patreon supporters. If you want access to exclusive tutorials as well as our Discord server, feel free to check out my Patreon page, link in the video cards as well as down below. You can join for as little as $3 a month. You can also support this channel by liking the video and commenting. Also, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out what I have to offer on the rest of my channel.